Hello, it's John Heaton, and today I'm going to look at the Abba catalogue and give you my personal ranking of their 8 albums. So, not including compilation albums, not including live albums, not including this great Spanish language CD with many songs, 15 of them in Spanish language, which is glorious. Not sure why maybe because they were particularly popular in South America and in Spain, but they did do songs in other languages like Swedish, for example, and a couple of others, but Spanish seems to be in the main one. So I enjoyed listening to that. And obviously through the years I've had this definitive collection, and I've played these videos so many times I don't even want to say how many. With the result being that some of the tracks I know probably too well, if anything, and made it a little bit hard listening to some of the albums because I was so familiar with a certain track I didn't want to hear it at that particular moment, so I skipped it. So that didn't do wonders for the continuity of some of these albums, but so maybe my ranking is not totally objective. In fact, it isn't. It's subjective. It's what I reach for the most often to play. And I've tried to think of, the album as a whole, as well as just the individual songs. Abba the movie came out in '77. That was interesting. The live concert, which is not part of this ranking, which has just been re-released on triple vinyl. I'm tempted to get that. And then I've got this Abba the book, which is, I'm not sure if it's definitive, but it's pretty much I think it's got the cooperation of the individual members because it's got a lot of input from the band and some great pictures, some of which I'd never seen, a lot of which I'd never seen actually, and well written. So nice to have that book. So ABBA's one of these bands which at the time they weren't particularly trendy in terms of you weren't that popular at school if you liked ABBA, and even myself I found myself going off them for a couple of years for that very reason, but then came to my senses, and since then have staunchly stood up for them when anyone's tried to have a go. A lot of pop stars have come out and said how much they were influenced by ABBA. Elvis Costello has said that Oliver's Army, the piano part in that, was kind of trying to copy ABBA a little bit. I was reading yesterday that Jimmy Page attended one of the '79 Wembley concerts of ABBA. Tim Rice he's worked with ABBA later on Chess, and I know his favourite album is Super Trooper. So each of you out there who likes ABBA probably have your favourite. This list of mine, I must say I was quite surprised with, because it's not what I would have expected, and before I made this review I did re-listen to every single album just to get a fresh take on it, and that probably influenced my ranking, which is, as of today, could change tomorrow. So at number 8, we've got the Waterloo Album from '74, which came out in the wake of their Eurovision success, and it included Ring Ring, which had already been on the previous album. So that was a bit of a repeat. Now, when this album is good, it's very good, and there's a couple of highlights. Hasta Manana, which is just outstanding, and Honey Honey, which went on to feature in Mamma Mia and has been viewed as one of their classics. But for some reason, Hasta Manana, although I think it's one of their greatest ever tracks, never appeared on here, never appeared on ABBA Gold or More ABBA Gold. I think it really is one of their top draw songs, so I could never understand that. That was there's a few songs on here which aren't so successful, although I was quite happily pleased with Dance While the Music Still Goes On, because I haven't got great memories of that, but that was nice. But there's some fairly silly songs on here where they're trying to be, they've got a bit of an identity crisis here. They're not sure who they want to be, and they're trying to be Slade or Sweet or stuff like that, trying to rock out, and it doesn't really suit their style terribly well, but the highlights are excellent. Number 7, we've got Super Trooper from 1980. So this is a very slick professional album, maybe a little bit too slick. But, the highlights for me would be Winner Takes It All, although I've heard it 1,000 times, if not more. The title track I was never big on, but it's catchy enough, commercial track. On and on and on, not a favourite. My two favourites on the album are the last two on side one, Andante and Me and I, which I think are both beautiful. Happy New Year is on here, which obviously one has heard many, many times, not just at New Year. So maybe it's a little difficult to listen to that within the context of this album. And then Our Last Summer and The Piper are both excellent songs. Lay Your Love on Me is their attempt at a kind of dance song, and it's okay, it's not one of my favourites. The Way Old Friends Do from the Live 79 concert is at the end, and it's not bad. So that's never been a favourite of mine, that album, although The Winner Takes It All, I remember when that came out. And they showed the video on Top of the Pops, and I was completely blown away. That was in August of 1980, I believe. Number 6, we've got the Abba album, self-titled, 1975, and this is a mixed bag. Starts off with Mamma Mia, which I had to skip. And Hey Hey Helen and Tropical Love Land, again, they're trying to find a style. Haven't quite worked it out. SOS is their first major single, in my opinion, in terms of being an absolute 5-star classic. Man in the Middle is quite a good, funky number. Bang a Boomerang is very nearly top-notch. I was reading on the cassette of this album, on the original version, they had to fade out Bang a Boomerang on the end of side 1 of the cassette and then play the rest of it on side 2, which I find extraordinary. The things they did in those days to make cassettes equal sides. Anyway, side 2 has one of my favourites, I Do, I Do, I Do, I Do, and then Rock Me is pretty decent. Intermezzo is good as well. I've Been Waiting for You is the first attempt at a big ballad, and it's pretty decent, and So Long is a great closer, and it was also featured on this album, Greatest Hits, which came out in 76, sorry. What are you up to now? We're up to number 5, I think. And we've got Avid, the album, from 77. So it came out in a white sleeve in some countries, but the UK sleeve was this one, and on the Epic label. And this has 2 singles which were big for me at the time. I got them both on singles. Didn't pick up the album at the time for some reason. Didn't pick it up till later. But Take a Chance on Me and Name of the Game were big singles for me. And on the strength of that, this is a classic album. One Man, One Woman I love on side 1 as well. Eagles, one of their best songs, but it's not a particular favourite of mine. On side 2, we've got Move On, which is musically is quite good, but it's spoilt a bit by the American-sounding narrator, who I'm not sure who that is, to be honest. I didn't check it. Hole in Your Soul is a rocker, and it's okay. And then we finish with this musical where Thank You for the Music is wonderful. I Wonder is a really nice ballad sung by Frida, and then I'm a Marionette's okay to finish off the album. Now, this album was my number 1 for a long time, and I was surprised that I put it at number 4 today, just because when I was playing it, I had to skip Dancing Queen and Money, 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 because I've just heard them one time too many. Didn't skip Knowing Me, Knowing You, because that's just in my top 5 ABBA songs of all time. And My Love, My Life is probably their best ballad of all time. Dum Dum Diddle is brilliant as well. Why did it have to be me? And That's Me on the second side are just 5-star ABBA songs. I'm not particularly keen on Tiger or the title track, but that's small criticism. When I Kissed the Teacher, great opener. Some great videos to go with this album. As I say, a lot of them are on here, including When I Kissed the Teacher. And of course, Dancing Queen, Money, Money, Money. That's Me, there's a video for that as well. And there's a live performance of Tiger on I think it's the Live in Japan DVD, one of those DVDs where they're performing that song. That song was big down there apparently. Now number 3, I don't have this on vinyl, I've got to pick it up because it really is a great debut album from March of 1973, Ring Ring. And the reason I've got it so high on the list is because, well, for a start, a lot of the songs were included on here, which was the first album I ever owned. So I've got happy memories of a lot of these tracks, like People Need Love and He Is Your Brother, those 2 early songs in particular. and also Nina Pretty Ballerina is on here, which I think is catchy as hell, and an all-time favourite of mine, Another Town, Another Train, sung by Bjorn. Just outstanding. Has a really strong sense of melody, and we've got some guilty pleasures on here, like Me and Bobby and Bobby's Brother, which is again ridiculously catchy. And then I Am Just a Girl at the end with Bjorn singing along with the girls, I think, and Benny's probably singing as well, an octave lower, and it's pretty hilarious, soppy as hell song, but it's very funny. And it's got Ring Ring, which was their first semi-hit, didn't do too well, but it was a year before Waterloo, so that's number 3. And a lot of those songs are unspoilt because they haven't, and you won't find any of those songs other than Ring Ring on any compilation these days. They seem to have forgotten Another Town, Another Train, and they seem to have forgotten People Need Love and He Is Your Brother for some odd reason. I don't know why, because they were on this iconic Greatest Hits album. By the way, this is the alternative Greatest Hits sleeve with this cartoon cover with the subtly different picture of the alternative cover on the middle there. So we're down to the top 2, and I could have put these in either order. I put these two at number 1 and 2 because as albums they flow incredibly well. I was not reaching to skip any of the tracks. These are not been played to death. Number 2, I've got The Visitors, their last album from 1981. And I think they really went out on a high with this album and the 2 singles, Day Before You Came and Under Attack from 82. There are great maturity in their writing. The title track is spellbinding. The singles are perhaps not as catchy or commercial as like The Winner Takes It All or Knowing Me, Knowing You or something, but they're pretty decent latter-day ABBA songs. And when I listened to this album in preparation for this review, I was struck by the strength of melody in both of them. There's nothing wrong with them at all. Weren't overly successful, but that doesn't say everything. And the 4th song on side 1 is Soldiers, which is one of my all-time favourite ABBA songs, and great lyrics as well. They're showing a maturity of subject matter. Both couples had obviously split up by this stage. That when all is said and done, they're singing about growing towards approaching middle age, stuff like that. Let the Music Speak. I Let the Music Speak is kind of them attempting to do something in the style of a musical, which they would explore with Tim Rice a bit later, and it's interesting. And One of Us was the single from this album. It's a bit of a dark cover, difficult to see the members of ABBA in there. Maybe the cover reflected the mood of the recordings, I don't know, but One of Us is top-notch. 2 for the Price of One is a fun Bjorn song, slipping through my fingers. Vintage ABBA Harmonies, the last vintage ABBA Harmonies on the last ABBA album. Sad, but there you go. Not all things must pass. And then Frida ends the album and the last ABBA album with a really touching ballad, Like an Angel Passing Through My Room, with this tick-tock beat going on, and it's very moving. So that was number 2. And then in top spot, I've got Voulez-Vous from 1979. And I've always thought this album flows well as an album. This front cover was taken at a nightclub in Stockholm, outside, I think, or inside, I'm not sure. But this particular vinyl copy has a Spanish version of Chiquitita as a bonus track on it, which I was pleased to find here in Hungary. And I love virtually everything about this album. The really good opener with the strings. Good combination of the disco beat and the strings, very, very imaginative. Voulez-Vous, the title track, hasn't been played to death over the years. It's never been a particular favourite, but because it hasn't been played to death, it still sounds relatively fresh. I Have a Dream was quite a big single from here, and it's got a very, very catchy, lovely, slow tune. Angel Eyes was a kind of second-tier hit for them. Didn't do massively well, but I think it's got all the ABBA ingredients and is catchy as hell, and again it benefits from not having been played to death on the radio and stuff. So The King Has Lost His Crown, very solid song sung by Frida at the end of side one, and then side two is Does Your Mother Know, the great rocker sung by Bjorn. And then you got this disco number, If It Wasn't for the Nights, which I think, and also they performed that song in Japan on the Japan DVD, I seem to remember. Chiquitita was the big single from here with the hilarious video with the snowman. Love Is Little Longer is a solid album track. And then Kisses Fire is just a great way to finish the album. And I love the way Bjorn and Benny come in on this backing vocals. I'm at the point of no returning towards the end of the song. Agnetha, I think, sings the lead, and she's on storming form for this song. And it's just a very consistent album. And as I say, it hasn't been overplayed over the years, and it's got continuity, and as has The Visitors. That's why they went my top two. So this is my personal ranking of the Abba catalogue. Hope you enjoyed it, or hope you agreed with some of it, and absolutely no problem if you didn't. It's only my opinion. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you next time.